Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to talk about something that's way bigger than just ads or logos. We're going to peel back the curtain on how marketing literally shapes the world we live in, how it actually constructs the reality that you and I agree to be a part of every single day.
So, let's kick things off with a huge question, one that sounds simple, but trust me, it's anything but. Is reality even real?
Okay, think about this for a second. Imagine you pull up to a traffic light and the colors are flipped. It feels fundamentally wrong, doesn't it? But what if, from the moment you were born, everyone just agreed that red meant go? That simple collective agreement would create a totally different but just as valid reality. Now, this isn't just a fun little thought experiment. This is actually the key to unlocking a massive idea about how our world works.
You've actually seen this play out in movies all the time, right? Think about Doctor Strange, where you have entire dimensions with completely different physical laws. Or a smaller scale movie like Yesterday, which imagines a world where, after a freak accident, basically no one on Earth remembers the Beatles. In that reality, because there's no shared collective memory of them, it's as if they never existed at all.
Okay, so this whole idea, this agreement that we all make about how things are, it actually has a name. It's called social reality. And, the most powerful force shaping that reality today, it's marketing. We are constantly being persuaded to buy into a reality where the main goal is just to keep on consuming. So how does this whole thing work? I mean, how do we actually build these worlds we live in? Well, you're not the first to ask. Philosophers and sociologists have been digging into this for a long time, and they've got a fascinating explanation. It all really goes back to this game-changing book from 1966 called, you guessed it, The Social Construction of Reality. The big idea here is that reality isn't just there. It's not something that's just handed to us. We're the ones building it, together, piece by piece, like this giant construction project. And this is where it gets super interesting, because the theory splits this reality in two different types. On one side, you've got objective social reality. Think of these as the hard rules, stuff like traffic laws, the value of money, language itself. They're stable, and if you break these rules, there are real consequences. You get a ticket, right? But on the other side, you've got subjective social reality. This is the soft stuff, the world of fashion, what's considered cool, what gives someone prestige. It's constantly changing, and if you break these rules, well, the worst that's gonna happen is you might get made fun of. And guess which one of these realities marketing just loves to play in? Yep. That second one, the subjective one. Brands have become absolute masters at hijacking our ideas of what's cool and desirable, and they've figured out how to turn those feelings directly into profits. There's this fantastic movie called The Joneses that just nails this idea. It's about a seemingly perfect family that moves into a rich suburb, but here's the twist. They're not a real family. They're a team of marketers paid to live this perfect life and showcase products, essentially constructing a reality that makes all their neighbors feel like they need to buy the same stuff to be just as happy. And this isn't just about clever slogans, you guys. We're talking about straight up science here. It's called neuromarketing. The playbook is pretty clear. First, you gotta weaken our rational brain, the prefrontal cortex. Then you go straight for the emotions, creating positive memories and triggering a reward response in our limbic system. And finally, the goal is to build what they call the buy button, to hardwire brand loyalty so deep that choosing a product becomes an unconscious, automatic choice.
And if you want proof of how powerful this is, look no further than the classic Pepsi versus Coke challenge. Check out this chart. In blind taste tests, when people had no idea what they were drinking, guess what? They preferred Pepsi. But, and this is the crazy part, the second you show them the brands, the moment they see that iconic red Coca-Cola can, their preference flips. Brain scans from these studies literally show the memory and emotion centers of the brain lighting up. The reality created by the brand was more powerful than their own taste buds. That's insane. Okay, but here's the thing. This is where the story gets really serious. Because what happens when this manufactured, subjective reality, the world of cool and new, smashes head-on into our actual physical world? Well, the consequences are frankly staggering. Let's just take our obsession with getting the new phone every single year. That reality, the one that tells you your current phone is suddenly obsolete, well, it has a very real, very physical cost. We're talking 13 million cell phones thrown away every single day. That's just mind-boggling. Or what about the reality of convenience? Single-use everything. The hidden price tag on that is astronomical. 1.2 million tons of plastic waste. daily. Try to even wrap your head around that number.
The same thing goes for fast fashion. It's a whole industry built on a subjective reality where clothes are basically disposable. But the planet doesn't see it that way. We're looking at 250,000 tons of textile waste generated every single day. And yep, another one, 170,000 tons of electronic waste, also daily. So here's the bottom line. Our subjective desires, which are being constantly stoked by marketing, are literally bearing our objective physical world. And it gets worse. It's not just about us throwing stuff away. The system itself is rigged to be wasteful. We're talking about planned obsolescence, products designed to break. We're talking about luxury brands literally destroying perfectly good merchandise just to protect their image of scarcity. It's all part of the game.
Okay, I know, this all sounds incredibly bleak, right? But hold on. What if we could take these same, insanely powerful tools and use them for good? What if we could use them to build a better reality?
There's this legendary marketing guru, Philip Kotler, who had this wild take. He said, the snake in the Garden of Eden, the snake was the first marketer. He was selling a pretty tempting but ultimately destructive idea, right? But Kotler also realized this power can be flipped on its head. And that's how we get to this idea of social marketing. It uses the exact same playbook as traditional marketing, but the goal is totally different. Instead of selling you a pair of sneakers for a company's profit, it's selling an idea, like public health or education for society's benefit. I mean, just imagine it. What if we marketed math with the same energy and creativity that we market a video game like Fortnite? You could use all the tricks of the trade, segmentation, targeting, positioning, to reframe math not as a boring chore, but as an exciting puzzle, a creative tool, or a superpower for the future. So let's circle back to that Kotler quote for a second. If the snake was a marketer selling a bad deal, then couldn't you say that some of the greatest leaders and thinkers in history were marketers too? They were all selling a vision of a better world, a more peaceful and just social reality. And that, right there, is the most important thing to remember from all of this. We aren't just helpless consumers passively accepting whatever reality is being sold to us. No way. We are the ones doing the building. We're the bricks, we're the mortar. Every single choice we make is either reinforcing the old building or helping to lay the foundation for a new one.
So at the end of the day, it really does come down to a choice. Are we going to keep buying into the reality of endless consumption that's being pushed on us? Or are we going to use our collective power to start consciously building a different one? A reality that's more sustainable, more meaningful, and one that we actually want to live in. The power is in our hands. So what reality will you choose to build?